Welcome! I am Public Enemy Numero Uno and thank you so much for watching this. Today I want to talk about how to play the Frightened condition. Fear brings about creatures in terror at the very shadow of a monstrous beast. All senses and thoughts stripped from them as most flee while others stand in a silent scream, unable to move or think. This is the picture that comes to mind when the Frightened condition comes into play. Is that accurate? Well, let's read it. On page 290 of the Player's Handbook, we can see that the Frightened condition has two effects. First, a frightened creature has disadvantage on ability checks and attacks while the source of its fear is within line of sight. And the second one is the creature can't willingly move closer to the source of its fear. Looking at it, it has an obvious benefit in the form of preventing others from coming near you or fighting you in combat. However, none of the rules state anything about the flight, fight, or freeze mentality that usually is considered when faced with fear. Moreover, the condition has a caveat in the form of needing to see the source. Finding cover or casting a spell to block the source should be sufficient, though this hardly is likely to stop the source from possibly moving into view. It should be noted that you are still technically frightened, you're just not affected by the first part of the condition when the source is not in your own vision. The second part about restricting your movement will apply regardless. So, how can this be used? Frightened by a source is rather vague that offers no limit beyond line of sight. Even if the target is 1,000 feet away, as long as it can see the source, it's frightened. This gives the source an almost omnipresent capacity to those affected. However, it doesn't narrow down the source in any way, leaving room for creative options. Say a character uses spells to make others frightened of him. Normally, a character must remain in full view. But if they duck around a corner and leave an illusion of themselves, does that constitute as a source since it's an identical image? I don't know. It doesn't specify. Considering that the casual sense is sight, then a sighted image of the source could apply. It could be argued that the source is the physical embodiment, meaning that wouldn't work. This would be up to the DM in my opinion, but I think that this is sound logic. It definitely would be an odd way to face an encounter with the spellcaster doing nothing more than trying to project an image of themselves into any given area. This could be used to stop the target's movement since the creature cannot move any closer to the source. Dealing with the frightened condition in combat is very oppressive as it affects nearly every possible action. You want to make an attack roll? Disadvantage. You want to shove someone off a ledge? Disadvantage. You want to just walk? Can't come any closer. This really crimps down on the game for affected targets. What's worse is that it mainly affects martials more so than spellcasters, since almost anything that a martial does is one of those three things. Spellcasters have the benefit of casting spells with DCs, which is completely unaffected by the condition. This creates the implication that the best use for the condition is against martial-based creatures. Feeling overwhelmed or cornered by mindless brutes? Frighten them. Faced with the dangers of an all-powerful spellcaster? Maybe frighten them? Just not as useful. Regardless, this can be used to ease up battlefield position, turn the tide of battle in your favor. The less obvious use of the frightened condition is during social encounters and chases. Both of these are skill-based challenges relying very heavily on ability checks. If said targets are frightened, now they have disadvantage, which makes intimidation checks far easier. Moreover, in a chase sequence, the condition prevents targets from getting closer to the source while it's in line of sight. Really flips the tables on pursuers. As for stopping those fleeing in a chase, if the source can be applied to an image, then throwing one of those in front would stop them dead in the tracks. Chase sequence solved. Just a few things to remember the next time that the party is brought to their knees by the very sight of a dragon. You don't go screaming into night, you just hate and fear the sight of the source. With that, please comment down below as I would love to hear more ideas or criticisms. Thank you again for watching my video and have an enjoyable day.